So welcome everybody to this Mindfulness in Action program. Your health is in your hands. So today is the fourth session. Everybody can see the slides, right? You see the changes?
Yeah.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
So just a recap, like, we talked about how to set goal, how to build awareness about that goal, how to move forward. So what we talked about is set it right, reinforce it, and move forward with it. Maybe you can mute all. So, and then after that, we talked about what is yoga, how yoga helps. Okay. So, what are the different aspects of yoga that helps us to reinforce that goal that you have set? And in that process, we also learned about how to do some micro yoga, how to do little 5 minutes of exercise after waking up from the bed in the morning itself, like how we can really energize our five senses through which we experience the life through this body mind complex. And in the third session, we also talked about what is the correct formula for the breath and how the different five elements, balance or imbalance of that, create different kind of chemicals in our body. And through the breath, we can control that. As we talked about, like, you don't have to be an automobile engineer to drive a car. Likewise, you don't have to be a physician to live in this body. You have got very simple mechanism like breath, mindfulness. Those are kind of simple tools that the nature has provided to be mindful, to be aware of the breath, so that we can control a lot of sophisticated functions and processes inside our body and mind. So today we'll explore about a very important aspect of our program, which is the yoga for the food that we eat. What is the yogic concept? So before that, as usual, let's start with the prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvisavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The meaning of this prayer: may the universe protect us all, may the universe nourish us all, may this workshop be fruitful and enlightening, may there be no discord, no disharmony among each other, may there be peace. Om, peace, peace, peace. So as usual, just like for the recap about the Panchakosha model that we talked about, our body is made up of these 5 layers. The outermost layer is the Annamaya Kosha, the body which is created out of the food. By the way, very relevant to today's concept, Anna is the food that we eat. So this whole body that we see, that we feel, that we experience life with is entirely made up of food. As someone says rightly, just like you see all the food in a buffet table, so you see the food. So the same food rearranged in is our body. So the food rearranged is our body. So that's called Annamaya Kosha. And we have an energetic body, a vital body called Pranamaya Kosha. We have a mind body, thoughts, Manomaya Kosha, intellectual body, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and the blissful body, Anandamaya Kosha. And how yoga helps us to transcend from the Annamaya Kosha to the Anandamaya Kosha, from the gross physical existence, body consciousness, to the bliss consciousness. And after that, we also talked about the Pancha Mahabhuta. The entire universe, the cosmos, is made up of these 5 elements: the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the air, and the space. And we watched a small movie last time. What we talked about is like how the balance or imbalance impacts our life. So today is week 4. We are what we eat. So how we can use the yogic concept, the Ayurveda concept, the nature cure concept, and all the ancient wisdom, along with the modern concept of diets and nourishment and everything, to be more healthier. So before that, just like as usual, we have an activity. So maybe using the chat room, may I request everybody to just write down what does it mean when I say Kapalbhati Pranayam? What is the actual meaning of that? And if you already know the meaning of that, write the meaning, and also just explain in one line, how does it work and why it is called Kapalbhati. So what is the meaning of Kapalbhati and how it works? Just in 1 or 2 sentences, please. So please make use of the chart board and just give that for 1 minute. And after that, we'll do the actual practice for a couple of minutes. I'll read it out once somebody writes. What is the meaning of Kapalbhati Pranayam? And if you know the meaning, how does it work? Why it is called Kapalbhati? Breathing in and exhale will give enough oxygen to the body and activates the mind. Breathing exercise, half chest breathing, inhale with strong exhalations. Very good. Energy moving to the head. That's very good. Detox the body. Fast inhale, exhale. That's how the technique works. Very good. I'll just wait for 2 more answers. Yeah, helps in cleansing the sinuses. Kapala means the head, and Bhati means the energy moving to the head. That's very good. So you can continue to write. I will just continue. So that's right. So Kapal is the forehead, and Bhati is the light, just like the light falling on my forehead. So that means when you practice Kapal Bhati, the forehead shines up. And what it literally it means, that means you empower your brain. The brain functions better. That means the neurons in the brain, they gets activated. Now you may ask, as you already talking about, it's a profuse exhalation technique. Like when you inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose in a more active way, active exhalation and passive inhalation. That means you exhale longer, more time, right? It will look like this. So the tummy will move in and out because the diaphragm is pulled up and down, up and down. So it's a very important cleansing technique of the yoga tradition. Out of the Shat Karma of the yogic cleansing technique, it is one of the technique that helps us to cleanse the residual carbon dioxide from our lungs and other parts of our body. So one of the most important part, which is not really talked about in many of the yoga classes, is because you might ask like, hey, I'm doing it for my tummy right now, but how does it affect my brain? That's the intricate part of it. So as we all know, there is a second brain in our guts. It's called gut. Like there is just the size of the brain. In our large intestine, there is a similar kind of mass, which is called the second brain. So probably, it's not fully proven yet, but the guess is that when we activate the navel point, the belly button area, the solar plexus area, probably the second brain gets activated and a lot of neurons gets connected to our brain also, primary brain also. So somehow because of that connected, the guts and the brain, that's how when we activate the brain, activate the tummy or the guts, the brain also gets benefited of that. So that could be one point just to note, so that when you're doing actual Kapalbhati Pranayam, you're thinking about the benefit to your actual brain power. So the actual technique is profuse exhalation. Normally people with heart patient or heart disease, or they're not supposed to do it more often and then more rigorously, more vigorously, because some of the yoga schools, they talk about doing it for half an hour to 1 hour, 2 hours. We recommend just like three times. We do 3 times for about 5 minutes every day. So in the first time that we do, we think about the physical body, cleaning up physical body, all the different organs. We try to become aware of it, and we try to feel like we're cleansing the body from inside out. The second part we do to activate our vital body, to energize our body, to bring more balance to the prana. And the third time we do it for our mind, to activate our mind, to clean up all our negative thoughts, negative emotions, so that our mind becomes better. So these 3 times we do it. So let's do 5 times or about 20 times in each cycle. We'll do it for 2 minutes. So you can also do an additional mudra, chin mudra, which is also balancing between the fire and the earth, air element. And keep your palms facing up on your lap, and then keep your back straight and upright. Now slowly breathe in through the nose, and while breathing out through the nose, you make little effort, like just like you're blowing a balloon through your nose. So think about, there is a balloon, and then you're trying to blow it out through your nose, not through the mouth. And then do it more in succession. Do it about 20 counts. So inhale through the nose. I'll count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. On the count of 2, you exhale. And inhalation becomes automatically in between the 2 exhales. So you don't have to practice inhalation consciously, just exhale more. Inhalation happens automatically. So first take a breath in and start breathing out on the count of two. One, two, one, two, one, two. Breathe out. One, two, one, two, one, two. Mouth closed only to the nose. One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Just like a train picks up a little speed, you can just activate a little bit more speed. One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Like that. Continue for a few more cycles. Good. Now relax for 5 breaths. Just normally feel the breath. Feel that all parts of your body is getting more clean, more pure, and more powerful. Just have a 30 seconds meditation around it. Likewise, let's proceed to second round. This time, we'll think about the prana or the energy system inside to take out all the negative energy from our body and to refresh that with fresh prana. It will also bring balance between the prana, which you're going to learn a little bit more about today. So you can breathe in through the nose. On a count of two, breathe out. One, two, one, two, one, two, 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 two. Continue to exhale a few more rounds. Good. Relax again for a couple of breaths. Keep your eyes closed. 30 seconds meditation. Feel about the prana or the vital body, the energetic body that you have, which gets more powerful with your consciousness. Think about you have an aura around your body, a beautiful light coming out of your body. Good. We'll do one more time for our mind. So breathe in through the nose. On a count of two, breathe out through the nose. One, two, one, two, one, two, 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 two. Keep exhaling a few more rounds. Again, slow down. One, two, 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 one, two. Again, relax for 5 breaths and contemplate on this practice. Feel like your mind is totally clean and pure and powerful. All the negative thoughts, minimizing thoughts are taken out, and you have a very beautiful mind. Good. So we just performed like 2 minutes of Kapalbhati Pranayam. You can do it for 5 to 10 minutes every day's practice. It is again a symbolic practice. When we do the actual practice, we go up to 50, 60 counts in each cycle, and that gives a good feeling that you have done something to cleanse your body, breath, and mind. If you have any questions about this one, you can always ask in the chat, and I can reply that after the lecture is over, or I can get back to you. As we talked about the pranayama last time, we hinted that when we breathe in and out in a particular way, I talked about 576 different ways that our body can breathe. And I was practicing with the Himalayan teacher, and he taught me 576 ways that you can generate this kind of energy that in your body. And then the prana moves in the nadis, or the subtle channels through which the prana moves in our body. It's called nadis. So there are 5 major prana that we generate when we breathe in. Just like the medical community also agrees that when you inhale or exhale, we create 400 different chemicals in our body. And all those chemicals are different permutation combinations of the different 5 elements that we talked about. So one of the most important aspect of the prana is the prana itself. The prana energy functions, helps us to function the heart and gives us the basic life. The heart beats and heart is sustaining the life. That's called the prana. There is an opposite life force. It's called apana, which is downward force, downward facing energy, which basically helps us all our excretory organs to function. All the urinary function, defecation process, sweating, and all these things, all our excretory organs use the apana energy. So in between the prana, which is upward force, and then apana, the downward force, there is a lateral force that is called samana energy, which is essentially responsible for our digestive system, the samana. It equates, it kind of balances the upward prana and the downward apana. And the udana is the energy that is from the chest up towards our brain. It influences our nervous system, our brain function, our thoughts, our mind. So it's called udana, upward force. And then vyana is a radial energy that is present in every part of your body, all around the body in a radial nature. Every part of your body, you can feel the pulse. That is because of the vyana energy. So prana, apana, samana, udana, vyana. You might have heard about this even from priests that we call for different kind of havans in our house. They call Om Pranaya Swaha, Apanaya Swaha, Samanaya Swaha, Udanaya Swaha, Om Vyanaya Swaha. That means we offer the oblations to our different pranas in our body. So today we are talking about what we eat. So our physical and mental well-being is directly linked to what we eat and drink. Annamaya kosha, the body that is created out of the food that we consume. So the nutritional content of what we eat determines the composition of our cell membranes, bone marrow, blood hormones, tissue, organs, skin, and hair. And we all know that our food should be always balanced. Every meal should be balanced with the right carbohydrate amount, fat amount, and protein. And of course, most important problem that we all are facing about the health challenges are because of the two white poisons, sugar and salt. Our body doesn't need sugar at all. And fortunately or unfortunately, everything that we eat is all sweet. If you go to any rack in any of the stores, 95% of the content, you will see that there will be sugar element. And that is one of the root cause of most of the problems that we are facing right now. Ayurveda talks about three dosa or three humors, called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. It's a combination of the elements that we talked about. The earth and water makes the Kapha, the water and heat, fire becomes the Pitta, and then air and fire becomes the Vata. So depending on your composition of the body, Ayurveda talks about you should also consume different food, which are also of similar nature. So some food are pacifying in nature for a particular dosa, and some food are not very pacifying. It can create difficulties. The yogic concept, they call Rutu Kala Mana Chakre. That means there are so much of variables, including the Ritu or the seasons. The Kala is the time. And all the different variables, including our body type, including our body size, the BMI, the genetic composition of our body, many different factors, our profession, how we eat, what is our belief patterns, all part of the epigenetics. So all these things are important aspect of our health and well-being. So when we try to understand different aspects of our being and try to find a good diet plan and believe in that and then try to stick to it for some time and experience the differences, being our own doctor. So there are a lot of concepts about the diet is happening. If you notice that every 1 year, every 2 years, there are so many doctors coming out with many, many different theories. Sometimes they'll say the coconut oil is not good. Sometimes they'll say coconut oil is really good. Sometimes they say the fat is not good. Fat is really good. Sometimes they will take you back to the Paleolithic diet. Sometimes the intermittent fasting. So many concepts are being talked about. So you have to do your own due diligence and then find out what is exactly right for you. And then things are changing all the time because there's so much of dynamics about the food that we eat. There's so much of technology coming about. So many new recipes are coming about. And people are always curious about the food because we always live to eat, not eat to live. So there is not one rule that fits all. So we have to apply many different concepts to find out what really works well for us. Just a recap again, we talked about different yamas: Satya, Ahimsa, Aste, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. So one of the things that is relevant for today's talk is Mitahara. Mita is moderate. Ahar is the food. So moderate amount of food. So our teachers, they told like whatever that can fit in your palms, karapatra they call it, that's a good enough amount to eat at one time. And probably 2 to 3 meals are good enough time for the day. So mindfulness is a very important aspect. One of the naturopathy concept that we follow a book. My mother-in-law is a naturopath, and she has written in her book that halt when you are hungry, when you're angry, when you're lonely, and when you're tired. We should not eat during these times. When you're extremely hungry, when you're extremely angry or lonely and tired, we should avoid food. Maybe that means like you have to take some water in the morning, just like 1 hour before or half an hour before. Never keep your tummy totally empty all the time. So there are different concepts again here. So because our mood also important. So having good food and a good mood, both are important. So when we eat good food with a good mood, the good prana builds up. And that is very important. Eating with a happy food. Just like when you go to an ashram, normally they would encourage people to eat in silence so that you're focusing on the food that you're eating. Because in the yoga, we believe that yoga is also, food is also called ahara yajna. It's a yajna, it's a sacrifice. It's your offering the food to the different deities inside our body. Like the Agni Dev, what we believe in Agni Dev, the fire god, stays in our body, and then we are propitiating with that, with the food. So that's the belief that we have. That's why before eating the food, we always do a prayer and offer the food to the universe, to the Mother Earth, and then we eat that. So that gives a very spiritual mindset to consume the subtle aspects of the food also. And food always carries different impressions. So if we are having negative impressions in our mind, negative thoughts, negative emotions, probably the food also will amplify those emotions and expressions in our body, which may not be good for our health. One of the key aspects of yoga talks about the hydration factor. Normally, when we eat food, we also consume a lot of water in the same time. But the yoga talks about that when we take the food inside, there is an epigastrium and the food goes inside. So the fire starts kicking in. That means all the different acids that is formed by the body starts working on the food that we have consumed. So it takes a couple of hours to digest the food because there is no chemical, there is no factory in our body. There is no blender that you can order like digest food, digest fast, digest slow, digest medium speed. It doesn't work like that. So all the acids that is secreted by different organs in our intestine, they work on the food to take the food from one state to another state. And there are 8 different elements, they call it ashtadhatu, that generate. Like say for example, you have plasma, rasha, blood, rakta, masa, the flesh, asti, the bone, meda, the fat, majja or the marrow, the birya, the semen, and then the vital fluid in our body, and then mala and mutra, the fecal matters and the urine. So these are called the ashtadhatu. So if we don't eat the food properly, that means if we forget about chewing the food long enough time, allowing the saliva to work on it, or dilute the food by taking water, instead of the food going through the digestive tract, it starts going into the fermentation tract. And that creates 108 different toxins in our body. And all these things are mentioned in Ayurvedic text, very ancient, 3000 years old, what Bhagavat wrote. He talked about 108 different elements. There has been mentioned about in the book, like triglycerides, your LDL, your VLDL, and all the different uric acid, cholesterol. All these things are off product, byproduct, because the food doesn't go through the digestive tract. That's why what we eat is very important, but how we eat also is very important. So eating mindfully, chewing the food, as many teeth as we have. So taking about a handful of food, like a one bowl of food, and eating for 20 minutes by chewing more in a very calm and peaceful state of mind, not getting distracted by the TV, the violent TV, or anything like that, just to have that is a meditational practice to eat. That itself is a very yogic prescription to have the best benefit of the food that we can have. one of the other program that I was studying, it talks about what is food itself. And then that probably defines like why we should eat and why we eat food. So food that releases energy slowly and steadily. That's very important. Because if you eat some food like more carbohydrate like rice and wheat, they release the glucose very fast, instantaneously. And that shoots up the glucose amount in our body. And that is one of the root cause of diabetes and other problems. So food that releases very slowly, food that doesn't make you obese and diabetic, food that is rich in fibers and helps us to clean the body, food that is devoid of any preservatives, food that serves more number of people. There are all different aspects, like even more environmental aspect of it. Food that consumes less water. For example, if you think about the rice, the paddy rice, it takes about 8,000 liters of water to make 1 kilogram of rice. The 1 kilogram of meat, it takes about 80,000 liters of water to reach us to our plate. And some of these Paleolithic diets, they're talking about the grains, like millets, for example, they take only 200 to 300 liters of water. So there is an environmental aspect here. Because if you look at the sugar cane, the tobacco, and the tea and coffee, they consume more water. And those are all different addictions that we have built up over a period of time. They're not essential for our body. So there are different concepts here. Again, I'm just giving a pointer. There are a lot of research about it, so you can probably show interest. And then we have got very in-depth program about the food itself. So today we're just talking about some of the broader aspects of food and how it helps. So why we eat food? Because to generate the prana. Because prana is the essential thing, just like we talked about breathing is a very important aspect in the previous session. So similarly, when you eat the food, the primary objective is to build up a good annamaya kosha, a good pranamaya kosha, a good manomaya kosha, a very powerful vijnanamaya kosha, and a blissful sheath. So the prana is very important for that. And we get prana from the food also. So a well-balanced diet can make us feel great because there is a brain and gut connection. I just hinted that in the Kapalbhati Pranayam. Now we're going to watch a small movie that I thought very appropriate right now. How the food heals our body.
Trillions of bacteria, viruses, and fungi live on or inside of us, and maintaining a good, balanced relationship with them is to our advantage. Together, they form the gut microbiome, a rich ecosystem that performs a variety of functions in our bodies. The bacteria in our guts can break down food the body can't digest, produce important nutrients, regulate the immune system, and protect against harmful germs. We don't yet have the blueprint for exactly which good bacteria a robust gut needs, but we do know that it's important for a healthy microbiome to have a variety of bacterial species. Many factors affect our microbiomes, including our environment, medications like antibiotics, and even whether we were delivered by C-section or not. Diet, too, is emerging as one of the leading influences on the health of our guts. And while we can't control all these factors, we can manipulate the balance of our microbes by paying attention to what we eat. Dietary fiber from foods like fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, and whole grains is the best fuel for gut bacteria. When bacteria digest fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids that nourish the gut barrier, improve immune function, and can help prevent inflammation, which reduces the risk of cancer. And the more fiber you ingest, the more fiber-digesting bacteria colonize your gut. In a recent study, scientists exchanged the regular high-fiber diets of a group of rural South Africans with the high-fat, meat-heavy diets of a group of African Americans. After just 2 weeks on the high-fat, low-fiber, Western-style diet, the rural African group showed increased inflammation of the colon as well as a decrease of butyrate. That's a short-chain fatty acid thought to lower risk of colon cancer. Meanwhile, the group that switched to a high-fiber, low-fat diet had the opposite result. So what goes wrong with our gut bacteria when we eat low-fiber processed foods? Lower fiber means less fuel for the gut bacteria, essentially starving them until they die off. This results in less diversity and hungry bacteria. In fact, some can even start to feed on the mucus lining. We also know that specific foods can affect gut bacteria. In one recent microbiome study, scientists found that fruits, vegetables, tea, coffee, red wine, and dark chocolate were correlated with increased bacterial diversity. These foods contain polyphenols, which are naturally occurring antioxidant compounds. On the other hand, foods high in dairy fat, like whole milk, and sugar-sweetened sodas were correlated with decreased diversity. How food is prepared also matters. Minimally processed, fresh foods generally have more fiber and provide better fuel. So lightly steamed, sautéed, or raw vegetables are typically more beneficial than fried dishes. There are also ways of preparing food that can actually introduce good bacteria, also known as probiotics, into your gut. Fermented foods are teeming with helpful probiotic bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. Originally used as a way of preserving foods before the invention of refrigeration, fermentation remains a traditional practice all over the world. Foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, tempeh, and kombucha provide variety and vitality to our diets. Yogurt is another fermented food that can introduce helpful bacteria into our guts. That doesn't necessarily mean that all yogurt is good for us, though. Brands with too much sugar and not enough bacteria may not actually help. These are just general guidelines. More research is needed before we fully understand exactly how any of these foods interact with our microbiomes. We see positive correlations, but the insides of our guts are difficult places to make direct observations. For instance, we don't currently know whether these foods are directly responsible for the changes in diversity, or if something more complicated is happening. While we're only beginning to explore the vast wilderness inside our guts, we already have a glimpse of how crucial our microbiomes are for digestive health. The great news is, we have the power to fire up the bacteria in our bellies. Fill up on fibers, fresh and fermented foods, and you can trust your gut to keep you going strong.
Thank you, this team, for making this video. So this is the recap again. Like when we talk about eating food, different examples were given today. What we eat is very important, but how we eat also very important. In fact, how we cook the food also is very important, as from the video that we watched. And why we eat, the objective is to create a good amount of prana, a good quality of the prana that we eat the food. So yoga also talks about sattvic food or rajasic food or tamasic food, depending on the profession that we are in. Like say, for example, if you're doing a lot of creativity, a lot of work through the mind, we need to have a good amount of sattvic food. If you are fighting, you need good amount of rajasic food, which can create more energy inside your body to be aggressive. So depending on what we do, we also have to choose our food. Depending on our Ayurvedic composition, we have to choose our food. And depending on different research that we are getting enlightened about from the current research, we also have to take into that consideration. And of course, we can choose our food based on the fiber value. For example, the rice and the wheat that we eat has got 0.2% only, the fiber. But some of these Paleolithic diets, the grains can have as much as 12% fiber. So if you can choose the food with higher fiber value, it can delay the release of the glucose in our body. And that itself is one simple scientific manner how our body can heal. Besides that, it also starts cleansing different parts of our body, like our arteries, our veins can be cleansed, just like the plaques that get deposited, that can be cleaned up through the fibrous food that we have. Our nervous system can be cleaned. That is how the food can be used to heal different problems like autism or multiple sclerosis or different kind of nerve problems, diabetes, or any kind of lifestyle disease. By just changing our food and lifestyle, we can definitely take our health in our hands. So coming up in the next section, we are talking about the cleansing technique, because what we eat definitely has to be cleaned up. So cleansing up technique, we just start with Kapalbhati Pranayam today, but more cleansing concepts will be talked about in the next class. Right now, I'm just thinking about a bonus item, like now, because yesterday was the India's Independence Day, and today again at 5:30 we are going to celebrate in our own way with the CGI. So I would invite all of you to have a 10 minutes of meditation right now. It's a open eye visual meditation. So if you choose to open your eyes and look at the screen, that also is good. Otherwise, you can keep your eyes closed and meditate also. So let me just open up that video. If you have any questions, you can always give a comment or ask questions about it. So let's meditate for 10 minutes with this video that I made. I made yesterday, and then about 6,000 people watched it yesterday. This is good. So happy Independence Day. Just like a bird has to have two wings, one representing a material wing, and the other one representing a sublime aspect of life, the spiritual wing. Then only we can soar up higher and higher and take pleasure of life. And that is the true meaning of freedom. So freedom comes with balance. Freedom of mind comes with true knowledge. Freedom of the mind comes with true love, unconditional love. So I wish you true independence, the real independence, the real freedom, the real joy on this auspicious India's Independence Day. So I hope you are celebrating in many different ways with your loved ones in a lockdown situation, still aspiring to open up. So that's the challenge given to us. How creative can we be to open up our mind, to open up our heart, to open up our soul in this lockdown situation. That's why this phrase that came to my mind, Muktir Ananda. Just like an imprisoned person getting that freedom for the first time after many, many years of suffering. So you should experience that. Right now, just have a feeling of freedom. Because in Arogya, we talk about yoga, mindfulness, meditation. So it's more experiential rather than just talking and listening. So I would encourage you to take a couple of mindful breaths at this moment, whatever you're doing, as much as possible, keeping the safety into the first place. So while being safe, even if you keep your eyes open, just take a couple of mindful breaths and try to feel that freedom within. Actually speaking, we are not bound to anything. With an open mind, we are always free. If we accept any challenge that the universe is offering, and if you understand it is only a lesson to learn, we can always experience that freedom of mind. So let's invite that freedom of our being, freedom of our speech, freedom of our breath. And also freedom comes with responsibilities. We're not free to do anything that can harm somebody, that can hurt someone. We are responsible. So we have to enjoy the freedom responsibly within the boundaries, understanding everyone's happiness, everyone else's freedom also. Then only we can enjoy the freedom. So giving breathing space to each one. that we encounter, that we share our life with, experiencing joy and freedom with them. A couple of mindful breath to experience some deeper aspects of freedom. One of the most difficult things to think about is financial freedom, because we are tied up so much to different conditions, different situations. The local economy, the global economy, the technological revolutions. There's so much of things happening. So let's aspire for financial freedom also today. Let's take a few more breaths to feel like we are becoming financially free, free from all the debts before we retire, so that you can really enjoy the rest of the life. You know that aspiration is very important. Once we have a deeper aspiration, bigger aspirations, then only the universe will help us to realize those goals, those dreams. So we are free to dream big today, because it's our Independence Day. So everyone who is listening to this talk right now, please feel free to dream big. Take a couple of more mindful breaths and try to energize your dreams. Think about the dreams that you had during your childhood time and see how many of those have already been fulfilled, and feel grateful for those already fulfilled. Like I remember when I was a little child, whenever there was a plane going in the sky, flying in the sky, I used to see and I used to feel and I used to dream that I'll also fly one day. So that freedom is very much associated with our thoughts, with our childhood upbringing. So try to remember back the freedom that you enjoyed during your childhood time. And even if you had a difficult moment, some suffering happened, since you have already overcome the time, try to recreate that moment again in your mind, as if you chose to be in that situation, but still you enjoyed the so-called freedom. If you have a heavy heart for someone or for something that didn't happen the way you wanted, you have anger, you have stress, you have a lot of questions, a lot of doubts, please take this moment to experience freedom of forgiveness. Try to take this moment to forgive that person, forgive that event that happened, forgive your own self, because things happen out of ignorance, out of anger, out of frustration, out of annoyance. So whatever that cause could be, on this Independence Day, let us celebrate a happy heart with no negativity. Let's try to forgive lots of people who might have done some mistake, some hurtful things to our life. Let's forgive our own self for causing some deeper damage to body, mind, and soul. And let's wake up to this new moment of joy, freedom, happiness, peace, harmony within. Let's pray forward together for a wonderful time ahead, with a healthy body, healthy mind, and an uplifted spirit to enjoy the rest of the life with this true sense of freedom for our own self and for everyone in this entire world, in this entire universe. Let's aspire for true freedom for the humankind, for everyone, for every creature in this planet. That's what the prayer goes. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu, Sarvesham shantir bhavatu, Sarvesham purnam bhavatu, Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. That means we are always free, we are always full, we are always happy and blissful. Nothing to add, nothing to delete. We are Satchidananda. So with that prayer, friends, let's celebrate the rest of the day, the rest of the week, the rest of the month, the rest of the year, and the rest of the life with total freedom in our mind, in our heart. Enjoy the Independence Day. Namaste, friends. So, I hope you liked it. It's a meditation for the freedom of the mind. Let me see. So friends, at Wellness by All Means, it's very close to the center itself, Silicon Andhra. What we do is we personalize different experiences. As you talked about stretching, breathing, eating, cleansing, relaxing, healing, and meditation. We personalize those sessions for our clients. And one of the easiest way to get in is become a member for a month and try it out all our classes. We use the high quality experience to give you a very personalized experience of our yoga classes. I myself teach those classes. And also we collaborate with a lot of local teachers who might be creating some kind of local oils. Like in fact, like one of my friend, like who teaches yoga, Bharat Sa, like he just left me with 5 different samples of different kind of oil that he manufactures at his home place right now, which helps in alleviating the joint pains. So if any of you have joint pain, maybe you can try it out. You can just let me know after this class that I can probably leave with some sample with you, and then you can try it out for a week and see if that helps you. Other than that, any amount of disease that you may have, we are also doing an experimental program where we combine the diet aspect, the Paleolithic diet, along with some bigger teams, where there are a lot of scientific studies have been made, and along with the stretching, breathing, and mindful meditation, we can experiment in a voluntary basis, like some of the unknown disease that can be healed through the food that we consume. So I believe the main topic that we're talking about, your health is in your hands, can be only practiced and can be experienced with a willingness to try it out. So I would always encourage to come and practice with us. So we have an introductory offer for $20 a month. You can be a basic member and then experience every week, every day, different kind of yoga class for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whenever you have time. A lot of schedule that is available throughout the day. You can do for yoga for eyes, yoga for ears, yoga for heart, yoga for kidneys. Many different customized yogas are available. So you can always take advantage of these programs. So with that, I will be open for any amount of question and answer that you may have, whatever little time that you have right now. We have got 10 more minutes. So I would open this up for some question and answer, please. Yeah, please unmute yourself and then ask, please.
Joshi ji, I had heard last time that you were going to send some email about the number of variations of those different kind of breathing.
Right. So basically, it's on our YouTube, sir. Like if you go to youtube.com and then just look for Wellness by All Means or Manoj Joshi Yoga, maybe Siddhavikar will help us today to send it. There are a lot of playlists for meditation.
Okay.
Hello. Hello, Manoj, your video is frozen.
Sridevi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, his video is frozen.
Mm.
internet problem. I think the internet went down. Yeah, the whole world is working on the technology, and the internet is heavily used. Good stress test for the internet. So I believe you can hear me. Yeah, please go ahead and then ask. So did
Manojji,
that answer your question, Surinderji? Like you can you find out our channel or get some help on that? Let me just send an email to Sridevi Garu and then she can forward it. You can post it on the note.
Or
Yeah,
if you send some link in the email where to
I'll do that.
start, then I should be easier.
Okay, okay.
Manoj, you want to put that here in the chat?
Oh yeah, okay. So basically, like it's very easy to remember also. Um, okay, so here I'll just put a simple URL which will be remembered easily. Where is the chart here?
It'll look at the bottom of the screen.
Bottom of the screen. That's what I'm saying. The chart is here. So let's see. So it's very easy to remember. You type tinyurl.com. Remember that, and /WBAM, which stands for Wellness by All Means 20, year 20. So that's it. So tinyurl.com. There is no space here. So tiny URL, there is no space here. tinyurl.com. It's always adding that typo. So that will take you to our channel, and then within that there are different playlists, and you go to pranayama, and then there are a lot of pranayama techniques.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Manojji, can you hear me?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Okay. So Manojji, thank you for enlightening us today. What we have learned is that the food is directly correlated to how our body feels and our health. But my question is, does it relates your behavior also? Does eating meat or processed food affects your behavior, your pattern, and your energy level?
Of course it does, because that's what we're saying. We are what we eat. Because whatever the food that we eat, that creates a number of energy, or the energy packets, or just basically aura, our emotional body, or prana. So the prana could be negative in nature, like you have got more anger. Say, for example, if somebody is habitually eating a particular amount of food where there are a lot of negative impressions carried, bundled with, like an animal food, say, for example, like slaughtered in a difficult way. So that impressions also carries on. So we are what we eat. So those impressions are very much, it becomes a part of our, as we talked about in last time, every cell has a mind of its own. It's called corporeal mind. So the mind gets contaminated, our thoughts get contaminated, our emotions get contaminated. We get excited about things. We get, you get angry at certain things. So emotions is totally controlled by the prana that the food generates. That's why sattvic food can create a sattvic state of mind. Rajasic food can create a lot of excitement in your body. Tamasic food can create a lot of lethargy in our body. So these food are directly having impressions on the different gunas of the sattva, raja, and tamaguna. So obviously, what we eat, how we eat, and other aspects that we talked about definitely relates to our mood, our behavior also. That's why the food that heals will change not only the physical body, but also it will heal our emotional body. It will heal our spiritual body. It will set us. It will clean up our channels through which the energy moves from our brain to different muscles. So definitely it will impact our emotions. It will impact your energy level also. Like, say, for example, if you eat certain amount of food where the high glucose is released right away, immediately you fall very sleepy. But if we eat something with high fiber content for 8 hours, slowly the glucose will be released. During that time, you will be always energetic. You'll never get tired and lethargy. So that is why food is very, very important. And particularly right now, when the industrialized, things happen, all the industrialization, adulteration of the food, that has really contaminated our food. And that is one of the root cause why we have got so much of cancer and so many different kind of unknown disease in a very, very early age of our life. So obviously, like, we have to really be very, very careful about what we choose to eat. And we have to join a movement, because human greed has gone beyond control. Just for the sake of money, just for the sake of our greed, we have totally poisoned most of our food that we eat. So we have to really think it in a revolutionary way. And particularly after COVID-19 pandemic, we should definitely reawaken. It's a wake-up call for us. We should rethink about how you should have a lifestyle that is more human in nature. What the original food habits were there, we should go back and then reevaluate whether the rice or the wheat or the different kind of chemical fertilizers or different kind of mutation that has happened to our food, is it worth eating? So definitely it affects their energy and emotion.
Manoj, I have a slight different question that, but it's relating to this topic. And the question is that, does keeping an animals or pets in the house affects your behavior?
Many of my friends, they say like life without a dog is very different than having a dog. So if you have a dog or a cat or a pet, like, that's very powerful way of releasing your emotions. Like particularly when you're tired especially right now, it's so busy world. People are so stressed out. People are so much in rat race. We don't have time for each other. So we're lonely most of the time. So when you have a pet in your house, at least you can talk to that little, creature, and then you can express your emotion. You can express your love. You can express your emotion in a whatever positive way. It will reciprocate because they're all innocent creatures, and then they can definitely give you more emotional feedback. So I guess there is a lot of positive side effect of having a pet in the house. If you can afford to have that and if you can take care of that, I think definitely, and if you use it in the right way and be compassionate, be kind, and then take care of that, it also builds up a routine. A lot of people don't have anything too much purposeful in their life. So having a pet, having a dog gives a routine to their life. They take the dog to a walk, they have this right, timely food. It builds a companionship of our life also. So I guess in the US, it's a part of our life. So having pets also is a part of our lifestyle.
I have a question.
Thank you,
Oh,
Manoj.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, I'm done.
There are a lot of Manojji, this is Ratnamala. There are a lot of people asking about the oil.
The
Could you
oil,
answer that question, please?
yeah, the therapeutic oil for the joint health.
Right.
Yeah, it's very powerful. This is something similar to called
Could you
Mahan
name that
Narayan.
also?
So it's not in the market right now. We are in a very small domestic production level. Something similar to Mahanaran oil, but Mahanaran oil, as per my friend, it gives a stain, and then you can stain your clothes. It can have a very nasty smell that is not people like it. But he researched for 7 years, and then he manufactured a oil which is very good in smell and works very effectively. So I just approached him like to give me some samples today, and then he just dropped by before the class, and then I have got that. So if you just let me know your contact details, I'll definitely try to help you in that.
I have a question, Manojji. So at the beginning of the session, you had mentioned something about intermittent fasting, right?
Right.
Yeah. So can you please say something about that? How it
That's
is
very
it good or
important.
bad?
Yeah. A lot of research has been going on that. Obviously, like when you think about ekadasi, like for example, in our own tradition itself, fasting. Like if you keep eating every time, every 2 hours, every 3 hours, keep eating, the digestive system doesn't really get a rest. So in our system, we do fasting once in a fortnight during the ekadasi time, or twice in a month, 3 4 times a month. That has been a very old concept, a pratyahara technique. So as we talked about ashtanga yoga, so pratyahara means withdrawing the sense organs or giving some rest, like mona, silent, or upavas, fasting. Those are all our ancient yogic practices. So an extension of that probably is an intermittent fasting concept, because you have got what they call a bio clock, the circadian clock. So that is very important to understand. If you fast for 12 hours, the body is more prepared to have the food in a better way. So intermittent fasting has been working for a lot of people. That is one concept. But the other concept, like we also eat, like in another concept, yoga talks about at least 3 meals. Like they talk about eat your breakfast like a prince. That means good amount. Eat your lunch like a king, little bit less, and eat your dinner like a pauper, like as if you don't have any money to buy the food. So that is a good ratio, because if you look at the yogic concept believes that when the sun is rising, so during the first 2 hours of the sun has got a lot of power, and sun is very much related to the sun inside our solar plexus. So the sun is equivalent to our oven, to our kitchen. So during the first 2 hours of time in the morning after the sunrise, we have got maximum digestive power. That is why the yogis recommend you should have good amount of food, all amount of good food during the breakfast time, so the body can digest whatever you eat. So another concept like this. So all these things are changing. So that's why I say, like, not one rule fits all. So you have to do your due diligence and research about what really works for you. I talked about the millets, the Paleolithic diet, like the grains have got high fiber. So they talk about the 5 grains, like in the foxtail grain, millet, or the little millet, and then there are different millets like brown top millet. So they have all called different properties, different fiber elements. So if you are following that diet, there is a particular structure that they follow. So I think you have to try out one particular system for a month or two, or at least for 3 to 6 months, and see like what impact that you see, and then either stick to it, or if you want to change something, maybe change something else. With good amount of understanding and a good amount of taking the safety rules, I believe we can definitely try it out, few things here and there, and then see like what works for you. But everything has got their own logic, everything has got their own science, but you have to really take it whatever that really relates to your life.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Manoj. Yeah.
thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No, just one small comment about the millets. When you said, I've been
Right.
eating only millets the past 2 months, and it
You were
is
eating that? That's
amazing for me.
very good. Wow, I just
Yes.
started. That's very good. Yeah.
Okay. I don't even have quinoa, because quinoa is also sort of millet, right? But of course, we have so
It's
many
called
millets,
neutral
like you
millet.
said.
Neutral millet,
Neutral.
but there are negative millet, there are neutral millet, there are positive millets.
Right. So
Positive
I have
millet,
all these
yeah.
other. I have all these foxtail and all these millets.
Right.
I have a whole box now, and that is what I keep eating, and
It's very
it's
good.
like I slowly
I just
got
started
into
last
eating.
week. It's very, very powerful. It feels it's so energetic,
Yes,
and then
it is.
I think I'm going to switch over to millet diet right now. I'm doing a lot of
Exactly.
research about that. It has a lot of promises, and then many systems are talking about, because of the high fiber content. Just I gave an example of rice has got 0.2%
Yes,
fiber, so the carbohydrate to fiber ratio is 80, but in the case of millet, the fiber can be 12.5, and then the carbohydrate can be only 60%. So that ratio is very powerful for healing our body.
Wow.
It's very good. Thank you for attesting that.
So if there aren't any questions, any more questions, we are past the hour. So Manoj, thank you very much. This was really very interesting and also very informative. So as you know, all of your sessions have been so informative, but this stops all of the previous sessions. So thank you. At least personally, I felt that way. So thank you for this session. And also a couple of updates for everyone here. Please note that our next session will be next Sunday also, because not on Saturdays. Next Sunday is August 23rd. So the next session would be from 2 to 3 p.m. same time next Sunday also. But after that, we'll again get back to our Saturday sessions. So that is number one update. And also everyone here, I would like to invite you all to our Rotary Club meeting tonight at 5:30. We will be celebrating India's Independence Day with the Consul General of India to San Francisco, Dr. Sri Narendra Prasad Garu. So please do join us, and let us all show our, spirit, patriotism, and let us all be there to celebrate with the Consul General. So please do join us at 5:30 tonight. And again, we'll see you all for the workshop at 2 o'clock next Sunday. So thank you all. Thank you, Manoj, and thank you all for joining the session today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj.
Thank you.
It's always an amazing session.
Thank you so much.
Very helpful.